Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Navs Effect podcast. A special episode we have today because we are going to preview the upcoming UAP Season 87 men's basketball finals between, who would have thought, right? The DLSU Green Archers against the UP Fighting Maroons. It's going to be an electric and absolutely awesome final series. And to join me in breaking down this matchup and to discuss what to look out for is the columnist for All Star Magazine, Simoun Redoblado, a familiar guest of the show throughout this UAP season. I'm sure you guys remember him. So we can't wait to have Simon on here to discuss what might happen over the next few weeks. I can tell you guys, since it's going to be a lot of fun for sure. And I can't wait to get all into it. But first, how can I start the episode without a quick word from our sponsors over at Finn Cotton? Let's check this out.
I want to say congratulations on all your success.
Congrats to Finn Cotton Sneakers.
Para sa lahat ng mga kababayan natin dyan, Disenyong Pinoy.
Disenyo ng Pinoy para sa Pinoy.
Dinisenyo ng Pinoy para sa Pinoy.
Dinisenyo ng Pinoy para sa Pinoy.
Disenyong Pinoy para sa mga Pinoy.
One of the best seller nila sa Fin Cotton, napaka-quality.
Napakasarap po sa paa. Halos parang natutulog lang yung mga hinlalaki ko sa paa. The best. Fin Cotton is the best policy. Nobody's perfect.
Thank you, of course, over our friends at Finn Cotton. And now Simon joins us. I see that jacket, Simon. I see that green and maroon. I know who you're repping. I know. Shout out to Enzo. That always gets me too. The part of that ad always gets me. And of course, I'm happy to see that Mr. JP Manan is already here doing his usual bit. Simon, how are you? We haven't seen you in this podcast for a while, man. How's your weekend?
My weekend was great. My wife and I watched UP versus UST at the Big Dome, and there were some UST fans like seated a few seats away from us, and I don't know if they found me so annoying, but guess what? I don't care. Sometimes you have to wear your heart on your sleeve, Navs. Let's go.
Love it. Love it. The passion, the love for the game. Simon, okay, before we get to the finals, is there anything we want to revisit from that Final Four matchup for the DLSU Adamson game? The things I have to say have to do more with the commercialization of college basketball sports more than the actual game, because DLSU absolutely used belt to butt in that game in defeating Adamson. By the way, I want to wish a speedy recovery to AJ Fransman of Adamson. I'm sure many of you noticed that he wasn't in action because he had chickenpox, which is, obviously tough, the timing and everything. But the UP USD game, Simon, what jumped out to you before we get to DLSU UP?
Aside from the fact that there were lulls in the gameplay, and even when the players were already ready and there was a free throw set to be made, that they were standing around for 5 seconds. Okay, wait, let me think about what else jumped out to me during that time. Okay, UST really brought the fight to UP in the first half. They led by 2 at halftime, and I felt that they were able to scout Harold Alarcon's offense really well, because there were times na nababara talaga nila yung mga supposedly baseline drives ni Harold, which worked really well in that game against UE. But when the second half came, I felt that the Fighting Maroons were better able to contain UST on the offensive glass. So walang second chance points, which was how they killed UP for a while in that round 2 matchup. Christian Manaytay getting wide open looks at the basket from beyond the arc dahil dun sa mga offensive rebounds nila. So I think they were better able to contain that. They were able to limit UST's possessions, and they basically unlocked some firepower, much needed firepower for the finals here. Raylan Torres went off despite some hilarious acting job when it came to crunch time. He acted like There was one time that he got fouled, I think, by Tungkara. He acted like he was getting shot, and then suddenly nilabas niya yung dila niya like joke lang. So Raylan Torres went off, Harold Alarcon went off, and when the chips are down, the ball's going to number 12. So pretty good showing from the Fighting Maroons in that Final Four matchup.
Yeah, a few things stood out. First was when UP trailed 40-34. It was Alarcon who really spearheaded that run that got them in the game and won them the game in the final period. Some of the shots he was making was insane. Turnaround, Kobe like fadeaways. One shot where he was fouled, leaned into the defender, the refs let it go, but he still made the shot. It was absolutely entertaining to see him at his best like that. And I think it's important because it's not two straight games where Alarcon played really well. And the first time was a 33-point outburst against UE. Then this game against UST, I thought he was maybe probably as important as Kagulangan and QMB's defense in that game. And he did a really good job in making sure that once UP went ahead, they would stay in control. And his shot making, I think, is going to be very, very important in this final series of UPs to get to where they want to get. And I thought Francis Lopez's defense on Motong Kara was absolutely sensational. And Francis has been criticized for a lot of things this season, some rightfully so, I should add. But at the same time, too, I thought that Coach Gold giving him the defensive assignment, because I got to speak to Coach Gold about this exact topic after the game. I have a story coming out on it, so I don't want to spoil it too much. But he wanted to see Francis take that responsibility of being a two-way player because he knows that Francis wants to be that. And Francis took that responsibility and absolutely thrived in that setup. Tungkara was having a very, very difficult time scoring against him in the post, on drives, backing him down. Lopez did a good job. QMB was stellar. He had a quiet 19 rebound, 4 block game. It was like you wasn't sure what his presence was, and then you just saw him fill up the stat sheet, and you just knew he made an impact in the game. And he was creating multiple possessions. It was just a very important area of need you need to excel in if you want to succeed in the final four. He was scoring on putbacks, and he was just making winning plays that don't always get seen in the stat sheet. And he was awesome. Kagulangan was quiet for the most part, but when UP threatened to pull away, he hit some daggers. Quick word on UST before we move on. If everyone comes back for UST next season, Fortsky, Nick, Fortsky already said he's planning to come back. This team is a championship contender, in my opinion. I think we're gonna hear UST make some big noise. I know the competition stuff. I know Ateneo is gonna be better. FE is gonna be better. I know LaSalle still gonna be LaSalle. UP still gonna be UP, and NU, if they're healthy, is going to be a threat. But don't count out UST. This team is going to be a problem for many teams next season. But yeah, I remember telling you this in our group chat. I told the community this. The last two games were very important for UP. The way they won in a close battle down the stretch, execution is more significant to me than had they just blown out the opponents. And this was another game where it was nip and tuck, halfway point of the third quarter. They pulled away and they were executing down the stretch. They won that game because they executed down the stretch, not just because the other teams made mistakes against their pressure. They executed on both sides of the floor. And that was very encouraging. If you're a UP fan, you have to love to see that, right? I think you're muted, my guy.
I mean, sometimes you can silence the voices of reason and the voices of passion, but not for much long. Okay, as I was saying, to a certain extent, I was disappointed that the game against FEU, the game against UE, were postponed due to the weather disturbances. But in the long run, those games being rescheduled in exactly the timing that they were actually played in UP's favor, because after that loss to LaSalle, after that loss to NU, I was dying for the Fighting Maroons to gain some semblance of momentum heading into the Final Four, heading into perhaps another finals run. So I think what the FEU game in which Jerry Abadiano was unlocked, what the UE game in which Harold Alarcon was unlocked, and even this Final Four matchup against UST, what all three of these games did was to give UP momentum, but also remind them of exactly how dynamic their offense can be and how well they can actually shut down their opponents. So, in other words, um, picking up some steam and you know make this finals matchup against LaSalle very very interesting.
Very, very interesting is one way to put it for sure. All right. LaSalle beat Adamson right away. That was a no contest after like the first few minutes of the first quarter. So we don't have to dive deep into that. But before we move on to the finals, just a quick word. Why are we making college basketball games last this long? I don't get it. First of all, the schedule says the game starts at 6:30. It does not. It starts like a little bit after that. You have three timeouts per quarter, one for each team, minimum three, one for each team, and a TV timeout too. And then even after this is what irritated me. After the TV timeout or team timeout, the players are literally standing there for a minute and a half, 2 minutes, arms in their waist like that, waiting for action to start, and the refs aren't starting the game because up in the big screen, everyone needs to see the fans do their best Yamaha motorbike impersonation or your besties, yeah, your besties sign or some other new promo. And not to mention, there's coaches' challenges, reviews, and different stoppages. It doesn't feel like a college basketball game. It feels like a mix of a circus and a game together. Okay, it does. I'm sorry if anyone's offended. Actually, I'm not sorry, but if anyone's offended, maybe take into account that I'm not the only one saying this. So many fans online are saying the same thing. Fans are irritated at how games last 2.5 hours because there's so much commercialization. And by the way, to all the brands who don't mind this, let me tell you something. You're gonna have people resenting your product if instead of just looking at your product during these stoppages, they're also thinking, oh, here we go again. The game's gonna get delayed. I have so many other things to do. I want to go home early. I want to skip the traffic, the parking, but we're gonna delay the game, even if it's already at 20 point something and that the game's done, right? Brands, people are gonna resent your product if this is how it's executed. I'm sorry, JP, I disagree. Any attention is good attention. Wrong. That is so wrong. This whole concept of all publicity is good publicity. No. Sometimes you leave a negative, lasting impression on people's minds. We gotta fix this. Okay, we gotta fix this. I know the money is good. I know the money is important, and the large, scheme of things, the games are the games, and that's what people are gonna come from. But you're ruining the flow, the energy of the game. And coaches have told me they're concerned about players na lalamig yung katawan because of all the stoppages. You kill the momentum. And I don't care about the money so much. I don't care. I'm talking about this from the perspective of someone watching the games for the entertainment factor. I'm speaking for the many fans online who keep complaining about the same thing. I'm not here to think about the corporate side of things. I'm here to talk about the actual games and the people watching them. This is not helping the product. And I'm telling you, for the brands, it's gonna build resentment in people if you guys are the reason why the games are delayed. Yeah, JP, I get that. I know you're gonna defend the corporate side of things till the end of time. That's what you're gonna do. But I'm speaking for the people watching the games. I want to get your 2 cents on this, Simon, because I guess maybe it's different from me because I'm media. So maybe admittedly, I'm a little biased because I also want to get my work done fast. But for a fan watching at home or live at the arena, are you concerned about these things?
I mean, my presence in the big dome this past weekend is a perfect way for me to answer your question. So, like I was saying earlier, um, buzzer would sound, referees would walk onto the court, players would take their positions, supposedly where they're supposed to do their offensive sets, do their defensive sets, or perhaps line up for a free throw. And then everyone's thinking, ba't di pa tayo nagsisimula? Nakatayo na sila dun. So I see QMB like bending his hips. I see JD trying to like stretch his legs or whatever the case may be. On the surface level, aesthetically, it certainly doesn't look good. But to your point, I mean, when you talk physiologically, right, anatomically, I have to factor in like the temperature of the venue and then the way that the players' bodies are so heated up. So what's gonna happen? Like, and our parents used to tell us our parents used to tell us that all the time, right? Pag ikaw pinagpawisan tapos nahanginan ka, ano mangyayari sa'yo? Magkakasakit ka. So, I mean, it sounds so
Exactly.
silly right now, but we also have to think about their welfare. We also have to think about their momentum. We also have to think about how their bodies are going to react to that sudden lull, which, by the way, they are not used to because games are indeed supposed to be played at a fast pace.
Let me ask you something. Let's say it's game three of the finals. 5 or 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Championship on the line. 2 point game, 3 point game. Team calls a timeout literally 2 possessions after TV timeout was called. Now I'm not sure if the timeout stipulations change in the finals game. Maybe it does, but we'll have to double check. And then the players come out and the pressure, the stakes are at its highest. Oh wait. Let's find the Nissan Cup Noodles guy first. Or let's find the best besties. Like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying totally eliminate it from the UAP because I understand again how important that side of things are too, right? It's a whole web. It's a system that works all together. But there has to be some kind of control here.
I don't know why this came to mind, Navs, but I think there are better ways to integrate product placement into what JP is saying in the chat. Of course, you can't take away the corporate side of things. Money talks. But I suppose from a creative standpoint, there are other ways in order for us to get with that marketing thing, but not disrupt the play and not compromise the quality of the game that's happening. So what's coming to my mind right now is the Ulalam product placement.
Oh gosh.
Decades ago in the PBA. But what's fun about that, Navs, is I also saw that.
Is that still alive? Is Ulalam even still
Uh,
alive?
I think the brand's
Ulam
still
ng
alive.
bayan was it? I don't.
I'm not sure if the PBA is still a partner of theirs, but what I remembered seeing live in the arena when I would watch games live was they'd pre-tape that thing. It wouldn't be a live feed of fans holding up bowls and holding up packs of ulalam. I do believe they taped that like at least half an hour, a good half hour before they actually aired that particular segment. So I think something to that effect could be done so that we could still get our product placement out of the way, we could still get our marketing there, but at the same time, not disrupt the game in ways that would compromise the player's health and even the integrity of the game at hand.
Exactly. And again, I want to emphasize before anyone watches this or listens to this and have their feelings hurt. We're not saying this just to bash. We're saying this because many of us have watched UAP basketball for so many years. And for many of us, this hurts the product. It's not helpful to the product. It isn't. And we also live in a time now where the attention span of people it's shorter than ever with phones and whatnot, and you need to be able to catch people's attention quicker than ever. It's hard enough for some people now in our quote unquote highlights era where you can just watch highlights quickly on YouTube and TikTok and whatnot. And I should mention that the broadcast provider of the UP does an amazing job with the social presence, the digitalization, meaning uploading highlights, making everything accessible. Absolutely great. But attention span now is shorter than ever. And if you're going to put so many different factors in the game, out in addition to the basketball game, it doesn't help the product. It doesn't help the product. And yes, I agree, there's no going back to the old era because there's a new era. But we need to find a different new system where everything works. Anyway, now let's talk about the basketball. Semi rant over. We care about this. We watch this. We so many of us give our Saturdays and Sundays and Wednesdays and hours and hours and hours that that could be family time or time with friends to the UAP because of our passion and love for it, right? But that's also why we're opinionated about this because we care about it. Okay, now let's go to the finals. Simon, you wrote an article for All Star. We haven't published it yet, but we're gonna publish it by tomorrow. We're just waiting on some cool graphics to go with it. But you did an exceptional job writing your preview, which we'll get to your prediction later because I found that very, very funny. But top of mind, what will determine this series, this finals rematch? We should mention LaSalle has won 5 out of the last 6 games against UP. LaSalle beat them twice. Interestingly enough, LaSalle has not lost at the Smart Araneta Coliseum the last 2 seasons. I was thinking about that. All their losses last season came at Moa Arena. Games 1 and 3 will be at Smart Araneta Coliseum. There was a bit of a snafu earlier about Araneta announcing that Game 3 will be moved to December 15, which I got a message from someone on the UAAP real quickly being like, nope, that's not true. The league already paid for it, that date. So I'm not sure what's going to happen there. We'll find out. But what determines this matchup for you, Simon?
Okay, quick note because you had to bring it up. All right, so imagine, okay, NCAA Game 3 Finals wraps up, okay, so right around the 5 o'clock mark or whatever the case may be, and either Mapua or College of St. Benilde is crowned NCAA Season 100 champions. So imagine the confetti's falling and, the entire crowd, the alumni, the students, the faculty, they're all on the court and, whoever it is, Alan Liwag or Clint Escamis is going crazy, wearing the net around their neck. And then, the Araneta staff has to say, labas na po, nandyan na po yung UP at Lasal. That's hella hilarious. Okay, but let's get serious for a moment. Spoilers ahead to my fifth bullet point in that column coming out tomorrow. Can anyone stop Kevin Campbell? That's really what the series comes down to. And I said it on September 9, Your Honor, witnesses Mr. Naveen Ganglani and Mr. Miguel Francisco Rocha. They witnessed me saying, what Kevin Kembao will do and will not be able to do this season will directly affect who hoists the UAAP men's basketball trophy at the end of the season. So it's this simple. If KQ does his thing unmitigated, LaSalle is in prime position to retain their crown. But if UP will find ways to not stop entirely, because I don't think that's really possible, but to just limit him, especially at timely points of the game or the series, then that's how UP will be able to steer themselves to a championship. So it's really the KQ question, Abs.
It is the cakey question. I guess on the show called Basket Pinas, where we talk about NBA a few times a week, and today we were fortunate to have former UP assistant coach Mark Dandan as one of our guests, and we were talking about the LaSalle UP series. And UP has a lot of guards, but one of the main differences for me with their team this season compared to the teams that went to win the championship in the finals a few years ago was the absence of those big wings, James Spencer, Lucero, Tamayo, the versatile wings who had size but also could provide you with many areas of contributions on the court on both sides of the floor. And he suggested, okay, maybe UP should go big because LaSalle can play big with Mike, with Henry, with Raven, and with KQ, who's the ultimate Swiss Army knife. We've never seen a Swiss Army knife like KQ in the UAP before, at least for a local. Francis at the 3, QMB at the 5, and another big at the 4. How do you feel about that front court?
I think that's ultimately going to be their finishing kick. We're probably going to see that line up at the end of games, perhaps at the end of a game 3 if we do get there. Um, I entertained the thought of putting Torculas at 4, okay, because in that crucial situation, you need to be able to switch everything and not give up anything. Baskets at the rim, sorry, baskets at the rim. Yeah, baskets inside, baskets outside. You cannot give anything, so you need to be able to switch everything. My problem is one, Torculas might be a liability on offense. Okay, although he's found easy ways to score baskets in the games that he's been healthy. And number two, that's it. The health factor. Uh, one game he's in there for a few seconds and then he gets elbowed, he gets stitches, which is not his fault, of course. And then another time it's his lower body. So Torculas and Baila, I think, will be X factors for UP in this series precisely because of their length, precisely because of their size. You need to be able to contain those excellent shot makers and excellent ball handlers of the De La Salle Green Archers, especially when they come off big screens like the screens provided by Agunan and Gonzalez.
One key area I'm looking at from a basketball perspective that has worked in DLSU's favor is their ability to trap the UP ball handler, the smaller UP guards close to half court, and force UP to rush offensive possessions. Here's the thing about UP. If you allow UP to get out in transition and get out, run on the break with all those speedy guards and playmakers, you're gonna lose against them. If you can force them to beat you with half court execution, you have a chance against them. And that's how DLSU has been able to beat them the last few times. And one of the reasons why is because whenever UP executes half court, their favorite go-to moves are the ball screen actions, QMB screening or a big guy screening or maybe an inverted screen. And Mike Phillips, God bless his athleticism, because I'm not sure how many players in the league can do this, and it speaks to how rare this player is for LaSalle. He can get out and trap like Kagulangan or the ball handler, while the original guard, the other guard guarding, also traps, and find a way to recover to the paint in time before a pass is made. And a lot of situations, when LaSalle does the trap, UP suddenly they have the ball near half court, 10 9 seconds left on the shot clock, and they have to make a quick offensive possession, which usually leads to the rushed isolation jump shot attempts that a lot of the UP fans have not been happy about with the team's offense when they go up against the Green Archers. So the question is, how do you solve that? Quicker passes. Maybe someone comes up higher to receive the ball. Because if you can get that pass out quick, if LaSalle traps, suddenly you're looking at a 4-on-3 offensive advantage, which UP theoretically, given their talent, should capitalize on. So far, though, they haven't executed or found a solution to that problem. Are you confident we're going to see the solution to the problem in this final series?
After the De La Salle and NU back-to-back losses, I would have said no. But after seeing what they've done against FEU, UE, and UST, I can confidently say yes, Navs. Why? Because they've opened up their playbook. I don't know if it's by necessity. I don't know if it's by design. I don't know if they said, let's wait until the tail end of the elims in order for us to bust out pages 6, 7, and 8 of our offensive playbook. So with my own eyes, I saw Spain pick and rolls. I saw double staggered screens. I saw cross screens for Harold in order for him to be able to drive baseline or flash to the middle in order to get his favorite mid range jumper. They're getting more creative on offense, and Lord knows what UP has in store for us in the finals, what De La Salle has in store for us in the finals. Everyone has something in their back pocket at this point in time. So gonna be fun to see the creativity of Goldwyn Monteverde and Topex Robinson in this series.
Do you agree to the criticism that Coach Gold has been outcoached so far in the series? I don't necessarily agree with that.
In terms of rotations,
In
in
terms of
terms of
everything.
yeah, okay, sorry, I was qualifying my answer.
Oh,
So
go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
in terms of rotations, in terms of maximizing talent, I'd give uh, a very, very slight advantage to Coach Topex, okay, who is a reputed players coach. We all know that that's what he's going to do. One criticism of Gold that I've heard and I share to an extent is his, I suppose it's a pendulum, system ball versus player empowerment. Okay, X's and O's tayo versus Harold, kunin mo yung bola, JD, kunin mo yung bola, dumiskarte ka. There are pros and cons to both approaches to offense, I suppose. But I think what Coach Gold has discovered or rediscovered or is just basically beginning to unveil for all of us mortals with lesser minds, okay, in this tail end of the elimination round. Uh, Sometimes the play could be as intricate as, okay, Q, stand near the free throw line, and then Francis, you position yourself over there by the elbow. Then we're gonna run the ball hand. We're gonna run Harold. Okay, then JD's gonna give the ball. Sometimes it's as simple as JD, bigay mo kay Harold, dumiskarte ka. There was even one instance in that UST game this past weekend in which I think they were trying to trap JD in the corner. Okay, so his release pass was to Harold. Harold gives it back to him for some inexplicable reason. And I could just tell JD was thinking, kaya ka nga nandito, kaya ka kita pinapasahan para tumira ka. Ba't mo binabalik sa akin? And then eventually Harold made the basket. But if he hadn't made the basket, I think JD would have slapped him up the side of his head. So Coach Gold, I think, will press both buttons at different times. System ball and player empowerment But I gotta say, Coach Topex has found that sweet spot, has found that nice balance earlier in the season, and that's why you guys are 12-2.
There are three things I'm looking forward to here. One, what kind of defensive version of Francis Lopez are we going to see? Are we going to see like the guy? Are we going to see the guy who defended Motong Kara very well and defended KQ very well in the Phil Oil finals? Or are we going to see the guy who got himself in foul trouble in the second round matchup and played himself out of the game? Number two, will UP's 3 point shooting struggles continue or will that finally progress to the mean? Because I really don't know how to explain it. And I don't think even the coaches of UP know how to explain it. How a lot of these shots are good looks. They're just not falling. Is there something about the length of the LaSalle defense or the fact that LaSalle's defense is able to tire them out and they have tire legs? Or is it just a case of the ball is just not going in? There's a chance it could be any of the three. And number three is what Harold Alarcon are we going to see in this series? Because if we see the Harold Alarcon that resembled the earlier version of the elimination round, I don't think UP is going to win this series. But if we see the Harold Alarcon aggressive and efficient with swagger that we saw the last two games, I think UP has a very good chance to win this series. And those are three questions I have entering game one of the finals. I think QMB and Mike will cancel each other out. They're just two really, really good players. Maybe one will get the upper hand over the other here, and maybe the other will get payback in the next game. But I think they're going to cancel each other out. And that's why the KQ Lopez question comes in again, because I think JD can maybe match KQ for stretches bucket for bucket. But over the course of a 40-minute game, I think JD needs more from maybe JD and Harold together can match KQ bucket for bucket. It just feels like to me the margin for error of LaSalle is slimmer, albeit very, but not much, but slimmer. Do you agree with that?
By slimmer, you mean they have just a little bit more leeway to quote unquote make mistakes. Although I'm sure Coach Top
Yes,
give
yes.
them an earful.
Yes. I think LaSalle has a little more leeway to for their self-inflicted mistakes than UP does.
Right, but an interesting when I was doing the tailor to tape as you requested earlier, Nabs. I also saw that the numbers indicate a preference in terms of defensive philosophy. So get this. In terms of inside points allowed, okay, UP is number two in the league, allowing just 25 interior points per game, while DLSU is actually seventh. They're second to the last in the league, allowing 30.1 inside points per game. But when you look at perimeter points allowed, LaSalle is number one, allowing just 22.4 points per game from the perimeter, and UP is actually a middling team in that sense.
So
26.
it makes sense why UP struggles from the outside against LaSalle if they allow the least amount of perimeter points.
Yeah, they're, for lack of a better term, they're a subpar team in terms of containing in general perimeter points. So what we see there is we see that the defensive philosophy of UP favors packing the paint and making sure that there are no easy baskets within 5 feet or shorter, right? While LaSalle definitely excels in terms of containing those beyond the arc shots, mid-range shots. Okay, so something has to give. Okay, we all know that DLSU is a force to be reckoned with in terms of their firepower from outside and from the perimeter. While UP, of course, their primary options in defense before that extended playbook that I mentioned is to look for that entry pass, dump it to QMB, and watch him go to work and draw fouls from the opposing front court. So, uh, clash of styles. Yet another reason why this series is so riveting to us UAAP fans. It's definitely a clash of styles.
Do you subscribe to the belief that LaSalle has a mental edge over UP?
Right now, I think
Yeah.
so. It's not because of any inferiority in terms of the mental resolve of the Fighting Maroons. I think it's the mental edge of we want two over you guys. You haven't beaten us this season. Okay, so But then again, I saw an interview of KQ basically saying, we're back to zero at this point, and
Mm.
we're going to take them seriously, and we're going to act like those previous two matchups did not happen. In a sense, that's true. That doesn't really count. But in another sense, it absolutely does matter. UP has uh, a burning desire to exact vengeance and finally hang that first loss over this new rival this season. So I'm almost at the point at which I will spoil the second to the last sentence of my column, but I'll let you react to that a little later on. We'll save it for last.
I'll tell you this though, it was good to see Raylan Torres get his, rhythm and stroke from downtown. I thought that was very important. Now, we've seen it also in stretches in the season. He'll have one game where he shoots pretty decent, and then he'll have like 2, 3 games where he's off. So, can he keep that consistency up? And same for Harold. I have to tell you though, it it kind of concerns me that Jerry feels like just doesn't feel like a factor on offense anymore. Like he had that really good game against FU where it was like, oh, Jerry's back. He's the zone buster because DLSU is gonna go zone at a certain point in this series. But why? What is it? Is it lack of defensive productivity? Is it just because he doesn't know his place in offense? Is it because UP's loaded at guards? Like I never thought we'd see Jan Jan or Raylan play more or the same amount of as Jerry, especially after Jerry's off season. But here we are, and I'm wondering, is Jerry gonna crack like 10 minutes per game?
Um, I was thinking about it when I was writing this column, and I thought, is that why Gold hasn't been uh, playing him so much? Because we know his defensive intensity. I wrote in the column, he might as well be breaching privacy laws the way that he's so up in the grill of everyone that he's defending. But how can you play a guy for such a long stretch despite the defensive brilliance that he's giving you, when on the offensive end, when the ball is swung to him, it's mostly bricks. Now, between mid range shooting and beyond the arc shooting, I'd say Jerry's strength is mid range shooting. But even that hasn't worked for him. Perhaps because, especially in the case of the DLSU defenders, Makalalag, Golyena, Abadam, Ramiro, these guys are hella quick, they're hella long, and they're hella pesky as well. I forgot CJ Austria. So even if you're springing that surprise of a mid-range jumper, if the guy that you're trying to surprise isn't so surprised, that throws off your shot very, very much. So, of course, as a UP fan, I am waiting for Scary Jerry. And by the way, Navs, the other backcourt menace that we haven't mentioned so far, that is Fortea. And I never thought I'd be singing the praises of this guy that used to jack up shots that would make me pull out my thinning hair. But hey, Terrence is shooting well this season. He's hitting timely shots. And I can't tell you the number of games that he was sent in there. And then 6 seconds into his on court play, boom, it's a ringless shot. So
Bang bang. He's
is
also in the
Fortea
best
going to
shape I've
be a
ever seen
bigger
him.
factor? Is Fortea going to be a bigger factor than Jerry? Oh my God, I can't believe I just said that.
I think so. And I think you have to play Terrence. If LaSalle's going to protect the paint and say, okay, UP, you haven't beaten us from outside yet, beat us from outside. The one guy you trust the most to knock down an outside shot is Terrence Fortea. Also, because if you're facing length and size, which I think DLSU has an advantage over UP in the wings, you need someone with a quick trigger, someone who can launch from deep quickly. And we know UP plays best fast. And I think that's Terrence. I think Terrence also needs to have a big series. Not the one like big time scoring, but he needs to hit like 2, 3 3 pointers a game, I think, for UP to have a good chance here. Two things I want to mention. One, I think Raven Gonzalez is going to be huge for LaSalle because, like I said, QMB and Mike might cancel each other out. But do you trust any of the UP backup bigs at this point?
To guard Raven?
No,
Okay.
no, just to be productive on the court, to be a positive on the court.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. The one that has the most potential to be productive on paper is Mark Belmonte because he can stretch the floor. But I haven't seen such consistency from Gani. Sean Alter has become unplayable, or should I say he's been in the doghouse of Golden Monteverde for a long time. I don't know why. And Kingsley sometimes is clumsy with his physicality. He picks up some silly fouls. He gets beat. So I am definitely praying to God that one of them will stop those incessant, annoying one-handed floaters. That if Raven throws them up, who's blocking it? Kai Soto. I mean, that's such a high arc.
Here's the thing too, Simon. Outside of Philip Lasalas, Agunane, and Gonzalez, who I think are better than Ododo, Stevens, and Alter right now, based on what we've seen so far this season. Raven plays both sides of the floor too. He's such a good defender for someone with like slow feet, right? His hands, he's so quick. He can block shots. He can strip you off the ball. And take note, UST went on the run against UP when they went small, late in the second and early in the third. Jello Crisostomo at the five. I guarantee you the LaSalle coaching staff took notes and they're gonna unleash a lineup with KQ at the five at a certain point. And that's when I think Belmonte comes in because one, I think Belmonte plays well against the zone because when you're playing against a zone defense, that middle is an open ground. That's where Belmonte produces the best. But also, if LaSalle's gonna go small and you're UP, you need to be able to counter that. You need to be able to match their small ball with your small ball, and that means Francis and Aldos or Francis and Mark at the 4 and 5. The question is, are they ready for this moment? I think Francis will be ready. I think Aldos may be a little more ready than Mark at this point.
I was banking on Aldous to play his. Wait, I'm gonna do the quick math here. Okay, to play his junior card. Okay, because this is his third season playing, right? So, uh, in the few instances that he's actually played significant minutes, Aldous has looked like an elder statesman. To be fair to him, uh, pinapadali niya yung basketball para sa sarili niya kasi ang gaganda ng mga placement niya, ang gaganda ng pag-cut niya, ang gaganda ng mga pwestuhan niya. So it's easy for Jan or for Terence or for JD to give him drop passes, and then he's developed a floater to a certain extent as well. Just can't get my man. Just can't get 100% healthy, and he didn't even play against UST. We saw that nasty fall that he had in that last elimination round game against UE. So sabi ko, sige, tipirin mo na lang yung sarili mo, Aldous. May final series pa, so yeah, it's gonna be big as well.
Well, there's so much to unpack. I feel like this matchup, it reminds me of when UP and Ateneo was hitting its peak of the rivalry when they just kept playing each other in season 84 and then 85. These two teams are so familiar with each other. They played. It started with that second round matchup last season when LaSalle won that game, and then the finals, and then they played each other twice in Phil Oil, and they've played each other twice here too. They faced each other a few times at this point, and it's going to be a really good series. And I think it's going to be closer than people think. I know a lot of people are saying LaSalle has the mental edge. I've heard people say, oh, LaSalle's going to sweep them easily 2-0. I'm not saying it's impossible that LaSalle's going to win in two games, but I'm also confident in saying it's not going to be easy. Hell no. This isn't going to be like the second round game of the series when UP had no QMB and LaSalle was in control the whole way. There will be moments in this final series where UP will be ahead and it looks like they have the upper hand, and then suddenly in the blink of an eye, LaSalle has the upper hand, and you're gonna feel all the emotions of being a sports fan. Every made shot by the opponent is gonna feel like the end of the world. Every single shot made by your favorite team is gonna feel like, you know, you're on the craziest drugs. Every single loose ball, every hustle for the ball, every jump. No, there's no jump ball, but like a jump ball that leads to a possession arrow. Every single thing is gonna be elevated and enhanced, and your emotions are gonna feel like a roller coaster. It's gonna go up and down, and that is exactly why we love college basketball and why I think this series is gonna be absolutely amazing, absolutely electric. Simon, fill in the blanks. Number one, UP will win this series if dot dot dot.
Okay, UP will win this series if they find a consistent way to contain Kevin Kembao, if QMB will indeed do what you said, and that is to at least cancel out Mike Phillips. It's very hard to do one over Motor Mike, but if you can do that, then good for him. And UP will win this series if, most especially, if Kagulangan, Alarcon, Abadiano, their best backcourt defender, and Francis Lopez show up on both ends of the floor.
Okay. DLSU will win this series if
DLSU will win this series if they continue this barrage, this onslaught of offense, this hot shooting streak that they've had since the start of the season from the perimeter. Okay, they've been such an incredibly difficult team to stop when they get it going from outside, and if KQ and Motor Mike impose their will and really prove that this mountain is theirs and no one left to scale the summit, then DLSU will win.
how many 3-point shots by Francis Lopez? How many 3-point attempts by Francis Lopez before you start pulling your hair?
Um, I'd have to say quite a lot because Francis has actually been improving in terms of his mechanics and in terms of his timing in taking those 3-point shots. Yes, he is baited. Yes, the defense sags off him because they're infinitely more afraid of what he can do
Not just the
off the
defense, the
drive.
weak side defense too. The
Side
weak
defense sags
side
off him.
defense is like, yep, we'll go help the paint.
But Navs, he's been shooting more efficiently.
I
And
like that he's kind of using that space they give him as a runway to attack the rim. That's what I want to see him do. Attack the rim, attack the rim, attack the rim.
I've
It's
seen
easier said than done, but try to get some fouls or kick out the open shooters.
one of my favorite NBA TV series is that open court session in which Brent Barry speaks to the former NBA players. Grant Hill said that when defenders would back off of him, because of course he's a better rim penetrator than a jump shooter, right? What he would do is, okay, I'm gonna uh, couple of dribbles, and then I'm gonna pick up steam. I'm gonna use that momentum. I'm gonna use all that open space you're giving me to drive even harder and perhaps pick up a foul. That's exactly what Francis should do if he
You
wants to thrive in this series.
you know what else he should do? And I root for the Heat in the NBA. So Bam and Jimmy aren't exactly knockdown shooters, and this is a smart way Spoelstra has countered how the defense plays them. But it would require Francis to sacrifice scoring. If he's being given all that space, he has the ball. Look left, look right. Locate who's the quickest shooting guard you can find. Fortea, Kagulangan, Abadiano. Come here, bro. Hand off. Hand off. He screens the guard's defender, and because the Francis's defender is sagging off him so much and giving him so much space, there's an open lane for the guard after receiving the handoff to pull up mid-range or 3-point shot. Will that adjustment be seen? We're gonna find out. But I think that is one way to counter all the space he's being given because makes sense, right?
Coach Gold, Coach Christian Luanzon, Navs has given us. I wrote it down. Navs has given us a counter to that tagging defense. So yeah, but it does make sense. Francis definitely has the personnel. UP definitely has the personnel to do a workaround against whatever sagging defense they're going to give Francis. So yeah, that could work.
Give me a random X factor who you think can determine the series.
I mentioned it earlier. Okay, let's give one for each team. Jacob Baila. I My wife knows how obsessively I followed your reporting several months ago. I mean, where's this guy gonna go? Are we getting him? And then I just
Does it make you feel better if I told you I knew the whole time he was going to UP?
yeah, because you conducted that hotel room interview and you were just locked and loaded and you were just waiting for it to drop. Fun fact: we went to a bank on the day that we found out that he was going to UP, and then I never saw a more beautiful bank in my life. I mean, the floor
Was it
was
BPI?
and the
Robinson's
slippers
Bank?
undisclosed. Okay, but Baila's uh, Baila's athleticism, his size, his switchability on defense. You called KQ a Swiss Army knife on offense.
Mm-mm.
He has that potential on defense. As for Lasal, I'll I can't stop. Honestly, I can't stop fanboying over this guy. But Raven Gonzalez, if QMB does indeed, um, quote unquote, put a stopper on Mike, I'm not sure how easy that would be. KQ still has one guy that he could drop the ball off to, or play pick and pop 5-4 screen and rolls. A big guy outside that will give Q fits because Q is not so used to defending players out on the perimeter. If Gonzalez hits those mid rangers, Lord forbid that he hits outside shots, long day in the office for UP.
Josh David, we haven't even spoken about him yet,
Oh
but
yeah,
he has
that guy.
always been, for some
Yes,
reason, the critical factor in these games.
timely basket.
And timely baskets, 3-point shots, those corner 3-point shots, and the defense and getting players into sets. One of the, LaSalle kept running this in the second round. Hand off David with the ball, KQ comes, and suddenly it's a mismatch, right? Because if you trap KQ, he's such a good passer, he'll give it back to Josh or another shooter, open shot. If you switch, suddenly you got a smaller guy in Kiambao, and now you have to help. And then LaSalle is able to capitalize on the openings. I think he's going to be key. If he doesn't play to the level he's been playing against UP recently, LaSalle's not going to win this series. I know we have KQ. I know we have Mike. If you're LaSalle, you're saying that. But you also have to say, but we also need Josh David to step up. And you
Yeah,
need Josh David to do what Josh David is doing. But I will add one more thing, Simon, and I don't think people will agree with me on this. I think this season's LaSalle team is better than last season's LaSalle team. I really think so. And that's no disrespect to Evan Nelly, Mike Nonoy, Mark Nonoy. My bad, my bad, Mark. And Policarpio and Wacky.
yeah,
Hello,
yeah.
haters. I'm a champion, Manuel. But KQ and Mike are significantly better this season than they were last season. I think Josh David is better. I think JC Makalalag is better. And that's the one area I feel many of us didn't realize entering the season was that the LaSalle team that won the championship last year were relatively young. Mike was only in his third season. KQ was only in his second season. Makalalag was only in his third season. Abadam, Goliena, second and first seasons respectively. And then you add the fact that they're trained by Mig Zaitona and that elite training system, and they have a veteran coach. Like, no one gives Coach Kaloy Garcia credit, but from all the coaches from both teams, he might have the most experience when you consider pro, college, and all levels of that. And when he diagrams plays, these guys listen to him. These guys listen to him. Isaiah Phillips, Sammy the X Factor. um, But yeah, it felt like that LaSalle team that won the championship last season was ahead of its time. It felt like this was the season they were supposed to win, and last season was supposed to be that season where you make the finals and you lose, and then you make it back next year and then you try to win. But they won ahead of time, and now UP is looking for payback. And it's just gonna be such a great series. I can't wait to watch how these two, more than the drama and the fans, which I'm kind of like tired of at this point. Yeah, whatever you got, whatever like bad vibes or good vibes you guys might have. I'm excited for the X's and O's and how both teams are gonna execute against each other. What counters are we gonna see? How quickly are the coaches gonna sub out their players for other players who might be, magic boo nuts? And who's gonna guard who? When the chips are on the table and everything is on the line, who are you going to put on KQ? Who are you going to put on Kagulangan? Who wins that Phillips QMB battle down the stretch? Because I think that might determine the series. I'm telling you, this isn't an easy series to predict. It's not cut and dry. It's tough, right? It's tough. Am I overestimating the series a little bit here or no?
This is the perfect time for me to say my final piece, Navs, because not only is this my final piece of this podcast, this is my final piece of my column coming out tomorrow. So, spoiler alert for those watching out for it. So, how do we predict the series, Navs? I say my brain tells me DLSU can take this in three. My heart tells me UP should do it in two. Have at it, grammar Nazis. Yeah, I said it.
Why do you think they should take it into?
Because their track record, Navs, when it comes to stretching final series to three, isn't particularly good. They won one, they lost two. Two is more than one. So I would rather have them seal the deal and save all these people from potentially, alumni, students, faculty members, outside fans, observers, you know, um, all these palpitations and all these other heart conditions. Imagine how crazy the fever pitch will get if UP still cannot seal the deal after taking a game one, they lose to LaSalle in game two. Imagine how crazy December 14. Don't get me wrong, it's December 14, right? All right.
Apparently, yeah.
All right. Imagine how crazy December 14 will be.
You mean because the NCAA finals is gonna happen, and then there's gonna be water in the floor, and the players will play game three after?
Yeah. Hey, QMB, can you pick up that confetti? There's still some left over at the free throw line. Help us out, buddy.
So if CSB wins in game 3, my green confetti na. So Lasal na yun, di ba? If Mapua wins, my red slash maroon confetti na. So UP wins, right? It makes sense. They're gonna play without nets? That's what I want to know. They're gonna play without nets? Hey, when the post locker room championship shower happens, like, are they gonna have to clean it up and then everyone comes in?
In 10 minutes. The game's gonna start at 5:30 apparently, and those advertised times always are valid.
Oh my lord! I don't know how they. One league is gonna have to change the arena that day. But who knows? What if Mapua wins in 2 games? What if the UAP series ends in 2 games? Okay, next question. I want to ask you in relation to your prediction. To win this series, true or false? To win this series, UP needs to win game 1.
Um, I can see it going both ways. One, I think they need to get that monkey off their back because they need to be able to prove to themselves that they can beat LaSalle this season. So that's the kind of psychological edge that they're going to give themselves if they win game one. On the other hand, over the past 2 seasons, they indeed won game one, but they still failed to win the chip because the other team won game two, and that momentum carried over significantly into the final game. So it's not a prerequisite. It's nice to have. It's nice to know that you have that money in the bank. But ultimately, I'd like to see them play a consistent series rather than just one game.
I think who wins game 1 wins the series. That's my prediction. I think so. I think if UP gets the LaSalle monkey off their backs in game 1, and suddenly LaSalle, after playing near flawless all season, is one loss away from being eliminated against a team with newfound confidence against them, I think that's danger. I think if LaSalle wins game 1, it makes it 6 out of 7 against UP, 3 straight wins. And then they feel. Here's the thing about this LaSalle team: when they smell blood in the water, they know how to pounce. When they sense that they can hit you with the kill shot, they don't stop. They don't stop. They hit you over and over again. Not physically, okay, but like metaphorically. But I think if UP can somehow win game 1 and get the losing streak against LaSalle off their heads, especially if they hit a bunch of 3-point shots, yeah, I think UP will have a very good chance. Okay. One last question before I let you go here. Thank you for your time, Simon. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Much appreciated. Thank you to our sponsor, Finn Cotton, of course. Give me a wild, bold prediction for the finals.
Wild, bold prediction for the finals. Hmm. Okay. How wild can we get? Okay. Um, JD is not gonna. JD is not gonna necessarily average double digits, but his baskets will count the most because he's going to hit the biggest daggers on either side of the coin on either team. What's that hip hop song? Not always there when you call, but I'm always on time. I think that's going to be JD's legacy. He's going to hit the shots when you need them the most, and those shots will lead to wins.
Listen, I just miss the time when music videos display that you can send people text messages via Excel. Shout out to Kelly Rowland and Nelly. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in this podcast. By the way, I'll be posting maybe on Wednesday the stipulations for the Finn Cotton shoe giveaway. Closest to the final score will win a free pair of shoes. It's that simple. And trust me, these Finn Cotton shoes are awesome. Thank you, everybody. Much appreciated. Shout out to JM. If you know, you know. And shout out to Simon. Make sure you guys read his article tomorrow. It is very, very good stuff. It's the UAAP finals.
Let's go. Deuces,
Let's
I'm out.
go. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Much appreciated. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. Shout out to our friends over at Finn Cotton. Shout out to all of you for tuning in. And thanks to those who have been watching my Basket Pinas NBA show. Really, really love the energy there and what we've been doing. Shout out to 1xBet for helping make that show happen as well. And yes, we will have podcast episodes more this week. Tuesday, we'll be recording a review of Gladiator 2. For those who checked out the podcast episode of our review of Moana 2, thank you so much. That was so fun to do with my wife. Tomorrow, I'll have Ray De La Cruz of Ray View to discuss Gladiator 2. And I might do an episode with my college barkada, actually. Something new, something unique. We're still working out the quirks, but we might do a little something. And for those of you who know what it's like to have college friends like family, I think you guys are going to enjoy that. Something different from the usual. But anyway, thanks everyone. Maybe you guys just heard there are fireworks in the background right now. Sign of things to come for the UP finals. But for who? To be determined. God bless. Peace. Love y'all.